Okay, so let's start to talk a little more practically here, assuming that we've adopted the right perspective and the correct headspace by which to approach. Let's ask the question, what would be the attributes of an individual who's ready to start this path of inquiry? And please listen to what I have to say here because it may surprise you a great deal. I would say that the most critical attribute of an individual who is capable of being an effective magical practitioner is an extreme skepticism. In fact, skepticism to the point of disillusion. And this probably surprises you because many of the people who use this language that you encounter that you've probably formed an opinion about magical practice by listening to. Many of those people who talk this stuff a lot are far from skeptical. In fact, they are probably credulous. Okay. Magical practice is difficult and it is technical, and it is something that only the most honed of minds can advance very far in. It is based completely on personal experience and personal relation. One learns those skills by being very disappointed in other avenues of inquiry. Interestingly enough, I would say that perhaps any avenue of inquiry, if taken seriously and moved towards its end game, will lead you here. My interest in magical tradition comes from being a very disillusioned Christian, but I certainly can find the same path in sailing my sailboat and understanding wind, tide, and weather. I certainly can find a path here through ecology or philosophy or any other realm where inquiry is necessary, and discovering that most of the knowledge that has been asserted by most of the people is erroneous to the point of being false, coming away incredibly dissatisfied and finding a need to find authenticity and finding nowhere to turn. The only place you can turn is back to the most fundamental of fundamentals, and that will be magical practice. See, the problem one faces in any given inquiry is that at some point the answers that are provided by whatever hierarchical structure you are exploring, if you're thoughtful and you're more than a dilettante and you walk the path to the end, you will find that the answers that you are provided will not be satisfactory, and you'll be forced to question the nature of truth and, by extension, the nature of one's relationship to reality, because that would be where we would ostensibly have garnered this truth or gleaned it. And you find that there's a tremendous gulf there, and that truth, as we experience it as experiential beings, is a perception. It is an impression. Then what? Once you understand that the self is an experience and the world that you call reality is an experience, and that experience is conspicuously, conspicuously a product of biases and prejudices and limited experience and weakness and cowardice in other people, and certainly plenty of status seeking and plenty of, again, ego projection in other people. to the point where so many of the views we hold are simply just constructs of ego projection, just stuff that people wish to be true. Once you discover that, and if you are at all thoughtful, then you must suspect that a great deal of that afflicts your views of reality if they do not constitute the whole of your reality. And if you contemplate that seriously, it should really frighten you. There is a nihilistic consequence to the utter uncertainty that one discovers at the root of all of this. And with that, of course, comes this skepticism and the disillusion, and maybe even a belief that nothing could ever be knowable because it's all a bunch of bunkum. Once you get there, then the possibility for actually starting to listen arises, and one's mind is ready, in fact, to start the conversation with whatever there is that we call the underlying substrate and other. Once we're ready to listen, we can advance there. While we want to talk and project our own wills and desires on that substrate, that path will be forever closed. Cheers, people. Think on that.